Hello and welcome. My name's James. I'm the candidate coach, and it's great to have you with me today for our workshop. In this particular workshop, we're going to look at how you can prepare really well and then stand out when you're attending a job interview. Now, when it comes to the point that you've actually landed an interview, you've put in a huge amount of work to get to this particular point. You've probably spent a lot of time on the job boards looking for that right role. You've hopefully been tailoring your resume and tailoring your cover letter. It's likely you've been through at least one phone interview, maybe another assessment as well. And you've finally got to the point where you're going to sit down face to face or maybe via the camera and you're going to talk. You're going to talk about what skills, experience you've got, what achievements you've got, and you're hopefully going to convince the person interviewing you that you are the best person for the job. So that puts a lot of pressure on, doesn't it? That can make you feel really quite nervous, and it is a heightened experience for you because you want to do your best. So we're going to look at those things today. We're going to go through how you can best prepare for an interview, how you can deal with nerves, and what actually are some of the things that you can do to stand out. Because it's really competitive. It is really competitive. And particularly when you get to the face-to-face interview stage, everybody is a good candidate. So normally when you get to the face-to-face interview stage, you're competing with other candidates who are also really good in terms of their skills and qualifications and resume for the job. But so is yours. So let's get into it. Interview preparation and interview performance. How do we go about doing these things really well? All right, just a couple of housekeeping things to start off with for today. And if I do look like I'm looking over here to my right a little bit, that's because that's where my presentation screen is. If I do drop out for any reason today, if the internet falls out, please stay on the line and wait for me to rejoin our live workshop. Ask lots of questions. Use the chat function as we're going along. We are live today. You can ask any question and we'll answer it for you. We'll answer your questions live today in that chat function, and sometimes I'll read them out on air. Also, what's important for you to know is that a replay of today's workshop will be available. So you can watch a replay of today's workshop on our YouTube channel. But I'd still really encourage you to take notes. Because when you hear something for the first time, that is often, the way that it is best, received. So how did something stand out the first time that you heard it? What was it like? How did that message resonate with you? That is really important. So when you hear something for the first time, take a note and remember how it made you feel. So a little bit about me, your presenter, James Whitcomb. So who am I? Well, I'm a director at Smart Recruitment. So we're a recruitment agency with an office in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, and Adelaide. And I've been working in recruitment since 2005. So just over 16 years. In that time, and this is my best estimation, I've conducted over 3,000 interviews and over 600 group assessments. It could easily be twice as many as that. It's a bit hard to estimate over a 16-year career. But in my coaching and my guidance and my suggestions to you today, you can be confident that I've had a lot of time and spent a lot of time interviewing candidates. And I've really noticed, and I've seen many times throughout my career, candidates who have a great resume. They have a great cover letter. They might have excellent skills. They might have excellent experience. But when it comes to the interview, they perform terribly. And because they perform terribly, they don't get the job. Whereas I've also seen candidates who don't have very much experience, who don't have sort of the same qualifications as the other candidates. But when it comes to interview, they perform well. They give great answers to the questions. They're well prepared. And they actually leapfrog. And you too can leapfrog candidates who've got more experience and more skills by being better prepared and better performing at a job interview. We focus a lot at Smart Recruitment on recruiting soft skills. So we do a lot of sales roles. We do a lot of customer service roles. We do a lot of marketing roles. So interview behavior is the key for a lot of the recruitment that I've done. And I launched the Candidate Coach in December 2019. And that's the platform that we're meeting on today. Alrighty. What are we going to learn? What am I hoping that you will learn today? Well, there's really 3 parts to today's session. So first of all, it's interviewing skills pre-interview. So what do I mean by that? Well, I'm going to take you through some of the things you need to start doing to prepare well for your interview before you even realize. So we're going to look at getting those basics right before the interview. Why this preparation is key. Second part of today, we're going to talk about during the interview. So when you're actually in the room. When you're in the room, what do you need to do during that interview? How do you impress? What are recruiters actually looking for when we're meeting with candidates? And what are some of the little things that you can do that make a big difference? I put here, make all the difference. Small things can make all the difference. And then finally, post-interview, what are some of the things that you can keep on doing to continue impressing even though you've left the interview room? What happens next? How do you keep on impressing? And then our next workshop that follows this one is a follow-up to this one. So how do you actually give great answers to interview questions? So today we're not going to go into the actual answers that you need to give. That's in our next workshop. So wherever you're watching this today, you'll be able to watch our next workshop as well. And we're going to focus specifically on giving those great interviews. All right. Part 1. Let's get into part 1. Pre the interview. Scenario. How do we stand out at interview? There is one rule. I've really only got one rule for you for today. What do you need to do? Preparation is the key. Preparation is key to standing out at interview. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, James, you sound like a boring old man. Preparation is the key. That's nothing new. That's nothing new in anything in life. Well, I'm not quite that old. I do like that beard though. But there is a reason why I'm saying preparation is key. And that's because from 3,000 to 4,000 interviews I've seen, candidates who do the preparation stand out well. They get the job. Candidates who don't do the preparation, they don't stand out. Now, preparation is key, but preparation is also your friend. So you might be sitting there thinking, oh, I don't have all of the skills. I don't have all of the experience. I don't have all of the, maybe the qualifications, and I definitely don't have all the achievements, but I really want to get this job. Well, I want you to embrace preparation as your friend because it is something that you can do. So a lot of people don't do the preparation because they don't want to do the hard work. And if you don't want to do the hard work, you're probably not going to get the job. Preparation, every single candidate can do. Everyone is on an even footing, an even playing field when it comes to preparing well for your job interview. So if you don't think you've got all the other skills or experience that some of the other candidates might have, or this job is your dream job, prepare for it in that way. And the good thing is you can do the preparation. And I'm going to show you how today. So, situation. You've just landed a job interview. Let's imagine that. Maybe this is you. Maybe you've got a job interview today, this week, next week. Maybe you're about to get one soon. I want to ask you a question. How do you feel? Feel free to type this into our comments box. How do you feel? Pick from the list of emojis when you've just landed a job interview. Are you top left-hand corner? You're smiley, or you're the third one from the left. You're really happy about this. You're excited. Are you bottom right-hand corner? Ooh, a bit nervous. You know, this is really real now. Are you bottom left-hand corner? Are you quite frazzled by it? Because you get a lot of nerves and anxiety when it comes to job interview. That is really normal. But how do you feel? Have a think. Type your emoji into the comments box. Because I want you to think about something. If you can ask really good questions, it's going to help you best prepare. And when we move into the actual interview room, we want to be as calm as possible. So when you've landed a job interview and you're on the phone and the person says, hey, congratulations, we would like to invite you in for an interview. We would like to invite you in for an interview. We want you to come in. You work out the time. A lot of people go, that's great. Yes, I'll be there Thursday at 10 o'clock. And they hang up the phone. They go, oh, I've landed a job interview. Mom, I've got a job interview. Great. Unfortunately, you've missed a really big opportunity. You have missed a really big opportunity because there are some questions that you really need to answer before you hang up the phone. And if you can answer some of these questions, ask some of these questions, then it's going to give you a really good inside running to performing well at the interview. So let's have a look at these questions. Before you actually hang up the phone, so when someone says, we want you to come in for an interview, these are some of the questions you need to consider asking. First of all, who am I meeting with? Who am I meeting with? Not just their name, most importantly, their position. You need to understand who they are and what they do. Because if you're meeting with the recruiter, the HR manager, the line manager, the CEO, the interview is likely to be very different. If you're meeting with the recruitment coordinator or the CEO, wow, that is going to be a very different interview. You need to know who you're meeting so that you can prepare. You need to look them up on LinkedIn, get an understanding of who they are and what they do and what their interests are. When you look them up on LinkedIn, you can actually then use this information at interview. I love it when a candidate says to me, hey, James, I checked out your LinkedIn profile before the interview and I read one of your articles. I think your article on how to write a great cover letter was great. What that shows me is this candidate is really doing their research into the job and into the company and into the interview. And I'm impressed. It's also a little bit of an ego stroke for me. There's nothing wrong with you doing that. Look up the person that you're going to meet with, find out something about them, let them know during the interview process that you've investigated them a little bit. Because that's what we want to see in candidates, and that's what helps you to stand out. All right, question number 2 you might consider asking, what should I expect? What should I actually expect at the interview? This is a broad, open-ended question, and it can give you some really good insight. The recruiter might say, oh, well, this is going to be a group assessment, and you'll be there for 3 hours. Oh, okay. Did you know that? Were you expecting a one-on-one interview? It's an open-ended question. So you don't know exactly what you're going to get here, but it can give you some great insight. Learn from this question a little bit about what will happen. What type of questions will be asked? Again, this is a great question. In some interviews, they might go through all different types of questions. And in our next workshop, we'll talk about how to answer them. But the person might say, well, look, this is just the first interview and there'll be 3. So it's just a little bit about getting to know you as a person. Or the person might say, well, look, you're meeting the engineering manager and they'll ask you some very technical questions straight away. If you can know what type of questions you're going to be asked, guess what? We can go away to prepare and we can practice our answers. So straight away, imagine if you knew what was on the screen there. I know what to expect at the interview and I know what type of questions I'm going to be asked. Oh, straight away, doesn't that make you feel just a little bit more comfortable if you know what to expect and you know what interview questions are going to be asked? Again, we can go away, we can prepare. It'll help us with our nerves. It'll help us to stand out. Okay, what should I wear to the interview? Now, this continues to change and evolve. It's also probably changed and evolved as COVID's hit because a lot more interviews are from home. But you need to know. Previously, you just kind of got, gentlemen, it's a suit, jacket, it's a shirt, maybe it's a tie, but not so much anymore. If you're going for a role with a marketing agency and everybody wears polo shirts and chinos, maybe to the interview you shouldn't wear a tie. But if you don't ask, you won't know. So ask the person, what is expected for me to wear at this type of interview? What's right for the organization? What is car parking like? Or what is transport like getting there? You need to know. You need to give yourself plenty of time. You don't want to be turning up to a CBD interview and realize, hey, all the parking around here is only for 30 minutes. I'm going to go and have to park 5 blocks away and I'm going to be late. Get there early and relaxed. How long will the interview take? It's a little bit like the previous one. Maybe you're going for an interview during your lunch work break and you've only allowed 45 minutes. And you get there and it is an hour and a half long assessment. You need to know how long it will take so you can prepare. And also so you're not distracted. If you've only got a 45-minute lunch break and they tell you the interview is going for more than an hour, it's going to be hard for you to concentrate in that interview. There's no doubt about it. What do I need to bring with me? This is a great question. So from a recruitment agency point of view, a lot of the time when people come in for interviews, we need to check ID. We may need banking, payroll, superannuation information, particularly if you're going to be registering for contract or temp work. Now, you might also, be asked to bring along academic transcripts, a copy of your work or portfolio. The problem is if the recruiter forgets to tell you this, they will probably think it's your fault. So you need to ask, what do I need to bring along with me to interview so that you turn up with everything that you should have? We like a well-organized candidate, and not having that information can actually reflect poorly on you. All right. And the most important question of all, the question that can give you the best opportunity to get a head start on every other candidate that's being interviewed. So even if every other candidate that's being interviewed has asked these first few questions, if you ask this next question, this question that I'm going to show you in red, this is going to give you a great head start and inside opportunity. So the question simply is, what can I do to really impress at interview? What can I do? So you're on the phone, you've asked the lady that's booked you in these questions, and then you say finally, look, what can I actually really do to impress at interview? What can I do to really impress the interview? Now, this lady might not be able to tell you anything. She go, oh, look, I really don't know, or I can't share that information with you. If that's what she says, guess what? Doesn't matter. You've already asked a lot of the other questions anyway. But if she actually says, here's something to you that you can use in your interview, how beneficial that is going to be. So she might say, oh, look, well, you know, you're meeting with Tony, and Tony actually loves it when people bring along a portfolio of their work. So you bring along a portfolio of your work. Guess what? The other two candidates they're meeting didn't bring along their portfolio. You brought yours along. Or she might say, oh, look, you're meeting with Margaret. And Margaret really likes to know that you've looked into our corporate culture and values. So guess what? You can go away and look into the company's corporate culture and values, and you can bring that into your interview and ask some questions and show you've done your research. So I can't tell you what you're going to get told here. Again, it's an open-ended question. But whatever the answer to this question is, go away and look into it, because this is a great opportunity for you to stand out. So let's look at it in summary. What are the 8 questions we should consider asking before we even hang up our phone? Who am I meeting with? What should I expect? What type of questions will be asked? What should I wear? What's parking like? How long will the interview take? What do I need to bring with me? And most importantly, what can I do to really impress at interview? Ask these questions and you will know how to prepare. You will know how to prepare specifically for this job interview. All right. I'm going to go straight into now. Let's pretend it's the day before the interview. Let's pretend it's the day before the interview. You have had the interview booked in, let's say for a week. So you've gone away and you've done some preparing, and you have thought about what you're going to say, and you've practiced your interview questions, and the interview is on tomorrow. It's on tomorrow at 10 a.m. So what do we actually need to do the day before the interview to make sure that we are best prepared? Let's get stuck into these details. All right. So first of all, we need to check and confirm how we're going to get there. How are we actually going? Whoops, we've gone too far. How are we actually going to get to the interview? As we said before, parking is important. Public transport is as well. You need to aim to arrive at the interview, before it starts, obviously, but before it starts in a way that you can arrive and be calm. You want to make sure your clothes are cleaned and ironed the day before, and your shoes are polished the day before. The reason being, this is allowing for something bad to happen. So if you were planning on wearing a shirt and you pull it out and it's got a hole in it, you can go and buy another one. Or if the iron is suddenly not working, you've got time to go to a friend's house and iron. Or if your pants are too tight because you ate too much over Christmas, you can get something done to have some pants that fit. Get it done the day before. Likewise, all your documents are printed. So if you've been asked to bring along payroll information and you've been asked to bring an academic transcript, get it all sorted the day before, because the printer might run out of ink, or it might not print well, or your housemate's on the computer and can't get off in time for you to print. Get it done the day before. Any pre-assessments that you've been asked to complete, let's get any pre-assessments completed in advance. And let's practice. Let's have practice to lot those answers to those interview questions. The reason we do this the day before is so that when we go to bed at night, even though we're probably going to feel a little bit nervous and we're going to have butterflies in our stomach, at least we've got some comfort there, and we can tick off in our mind some of the things that we've done, rather than lying there thinking about all the things that I need to do when I get up in the morning. So it's important to get those things done the day before the interview. All right. You've tossed and turned a bit all night. The alarm's gone off. Beep, 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 beep. You suddenly wake up. And you're like, ooh, today's the day. I've got that job interview at 10 o'clock in the morning. So it's really important that you have breakfast. You need to have a full stomach. You might not feel hungry, but eating breakfast will give you, first of all, energy. It'll give you a good blood sugar level. It'll help you concentrate. I also do a lot of my interviews in the morning, and I can actually smell it on people's breath when they haven't had breakfast. It stinks. So make sure you do. Some of the basics: we're showering, we're shaving, we're brushing our teeth, we're fresh and clean, we're putting on our nice clean ironed clothes, our polished shoes. Avoid strong odors. Put on a little bit of perfume or aftershave, but don't put on too much. Don't try and overpower the person. Avoid smoking unless you really need to. I would rather you have a cigarette so that you feel calm than be shaking at the interview. Leave with plenty of time. This is absolutely key. There's nothing wrong with getting to the venue 2 hours early. You don't go up to reception, but at least you're there. Take with you things just in case, like an umbrella. Take tissues, take mints. And as I've got here, arrive 30 to 40 minutes early. That's probably the minimum. But don't go up to reception. Don't go up to reception until 5 to 10 minutes before. When a candidate arrives 40 minutes before interview and goes up to reception and asks for me, I think it's probably just poor judgment there. Your interview's at 11. You've got here at 10:20. That's fine. Maybe just walk around the block or sit in a cafe for 20 minutes and then come back. So we need to do these things the morning of the interview. All right, what do we need to take to our interview? Well, the first thing I want you to go out and buy, if you don't have one, is a compendium. What is a compendium? Well, there's a picture on your screen. I've also got one here. I got a new one for my birthday recently. I've got a compendium, brown leather one. It can fit my laptop and some bits and pieces of information in here. I take it to meetings with me. You can take it with you to your interview. You can get it from Officeworks or your local news agency for $20 or $25. Now, if you come to an interview with this tucked under your arm, you look professional, you look organized, you look serious, you mean business, you want the job. But it also has a very practical application because everything listed under compendium there, you should be taking with you. A copy of your resume, a copy of your letter, your elevator pitch. We run a workshop on elevator pitches. Look that up if you'd like to attend it. We need to take written questions so that we can look down and see what our questions were when the time comes. You might think, but they've already got my resume, James. And yes, they probably do. But let me ask you, if somebody comes and joins your interview halfway through and they don't have your resume, you can lean across and hand it to them. Also, you might be talking about, or you might be asked about some of the things on your resume. If you just look down, you've got it in front of you. The questions are really important. You won't ask 5 or 6 questions, but at the end of the interview, nearly every recruiter will say, do you have any questions at all for me? And this is such an important opportunity for you to stand out. So write down 5 or 6 questions and pick the best 3 at the time. 5 or 6 are needed because a couple might get answered throughout the interview and you don't want to ask the same thing. But the questions you ask should show that you've done some research. At a minimum, show that you've done some research. And then the other information there, as you see on the screen, it is important for you to take along. Okay, so what have we talked about? Preparation is key. Preparation is your friend. Preparation you can do. Let me ask you a question. Can you do everything I've asked you so far? Can you do everything I've asked you so far? It's actually not a question. It should be a statement. You need to do everything I've asked you so far. It is very basic. We're still at the basic stage. You need to be doing these things. Alrighty. So we've prepared well. We're sitting there at reception and out comes somebody. We hear the clip, clop of shoes and they bring us into the interview room. We've given them a firm handshake, a nice smile. We've looked them in the eye. We've said, good morning. Thank you for seeing me. Now, how do you actually stand out in the interview room? Well, first of all, I want to share with you a video around how you overcome your nerves and anxiety. Nerves and anxiety affect absolutely everybody. Even as an experienced recruiter, if I was going for a job interview myself tomorrow, I would feel nervous. Thanks for joining us at The Candidate Coach, Dr. Barker. Tell us a bit about your background and the type of work you do.
I am Dr. Sarah Barker. I'm a clinical psychologist. I've worked in workplace mental health with Black Dog Institute for the past 7 years.
Dr. Barker, why is it common to feel nerves when going for a job interview?
We commonly feel nervous, and I would say most people feel nervous when going for a job interview because we feel a lot depends on it and that we're going to be evaluated as well. So nerves are a very, very common response. It's really important to remember that the person who's doing the recruiting also feels nervous as well, because they want to get the right person, and they're also aware that they're expecting people to come in feeling nervous as well. They know that that's a common human experience.
What can we do before the interview to help best prepare so that we're not overcome by feelings of nerves and anxiety?
To best prepare ourselves to avoid some of those feelings of anxiety and nerves before an interview, firstly is to accept, I think, that they're going to be there. And actually, a few nerves are actually helpful. They help us give our best performance, give our best answers, think the best on the spot. So accepting that there's going to be a level of nerves is okay. But I think also probably an hour beforehand or the morning before the interview, really practicing some breathing strategies, whichever is your favourite breathing strategy, to calm those nerves down, calm the system down, calm the breath down, and allow your body to relax as much as it can into the interview. I also think preparing answers and having a practice in front of the mirror of some likely answers that are going to be, or likely responses to questions that are going to be asked can be very, very reassuring, because often the questions we predict are there. And even on the internet, there are usually lots of questions for any job that are typical questions that you can then prepare a brief response reflecting on your experience beforehand. So it's not such a test in the moment then, because you've got some preparation behind you. The other thing I think too is reminding yourself, I've got this far and this is a good thing. And, they're interested in getting to know me. I'm also interested in getting to know them, and concentrate on the relationship too and enjoy the relationship as much as you can. They're usually going to try and put you at ease so that they can see how you respond as well.
What can we do during the interview if we feel a bout of nerves or anxiety coming on?
It's very common for us to suddenly feel overwhelmed in the moment in an interview. If that happens, take some deep breaths. It's okay to buy some time. It's okay. And also, when we take deep breaths in an interview, it's only usually us that notice. Okay, so taking some deep breaths can really be helpful. And even saying to the interviewer, could I just take a moment here just to pause and gather my thoughts, and then just breathe, okay? And then when you're ready, come back and say, I'm ready to continue on. And that's a fine way to manage nerves during an interview. One tip that I think is a really useful one is to have a practice of your responses to the likely questions in front of the mirror. Something you might notice is that the questions you're feeling more confident about, you'll smile more, you'll be more relaxed, you'll, strut your stuff a little bit as you respond. You'll notice too, the questions you feel less confident about, you might stop smiling or your face might change. Those questions are the ones you need to practice a little bit more at, and remind yourself of your confidence with that, or prepare your answer so that you do feel more confident, because your face will actually tell you in the mirror, and that can be good preparation for the actual interview of knowing where to focus on in feeling more strong in your responses. In summary, nerves and anxiety for interviews can be partially managed and avoided by preparing beforehand, using our breathing exercises and techniques to reduce stress so we're going in feeling calmer, and also during the interview by practicing those same skills often when we're nervous, we stop breathing or we breathe very shallowly. So if we start noticing ourselves doing that, really being conscious of our breath and paying attention to it and allowing that to carry us through.
Thanks for watching today, and we hope this has helped you best prepare for your next job interview. Good luck. When we're in the interview room, it's really important to remember that essentially you are just two people meeting. As Dr. Barker has said there, the interviewer themselves may also be experiencing nerves. So I really like this quote from American civil rights activist and poet Maya Angelou, who said, "I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." So when all is said and done and you've left the interview room, quite quickly, the words that you've spoken are forgotten. But the way that you made the other person feel, or the way they felt around you, is actually what is more remembered. So even if it's not something they're actually aware of. So what I've got here is 11 tips that I'd like to go through with you for making people feel more comfortable around you. All right. Tip number 1, smile. You need to smile. Get your smile on. We like it when people smile at us, don't we? So if you start off by smiling, and at the least, if the person remembers you as being happy, that is a great start. Give off a confident vibe. So don't be cocky, don't be arrogant, but you should be confident. You know, you've been invited in for the interview because you are one of the best candidates. So be confident. Look the person in the eye when they're speaking. Sit up straight in your chair. Be confident in your ability to perform well. Dish out the compliments. So say something nice to the person. I love it when a candidate at least says to me, thank you for taking the time to meet with me today. Or they might say, James, I had a look at your career here and you've had a great career here. Why do you like working here? Maybe you might compliment them on the jacket they're wearing, but there's nothing wrong with complimenting people. Slow your roll. So what this means is just slow things down. You're not in a race. A lot of candidates get into the interview room, and because they already are nervous, they talk very quickly. And because they talk quickly, they just race through things. You're in the interview room. You're here now to take that deep breath. As Dr. Barker says, slow things down. Have open body language. So open body language, a bit like I'm sitting in front of you now. I'm looking down the barrel of the camera. So look the person in the eye. Have your shoulders facing them. So don't close, don't cross your arms. Let me zoom in on my camera a little bit. Crossing your arms, that's closed body language. You probably don't feel like I'm engaging with you as much. On the side a little bit is closed body language. Looking down a lot at your hands. So if you are nervous, a lot of people look at their hands. But as you can see right now, if I'm looking at my hands and just looking up occasionally, you probably don't feel, or if I'm looking over here or if I'm looking over there, my body language isn't great. So let's sit up straight. Let's sit upright. Let's look the person in the eye and have open body language. Show that you're actually listening. So some things just like sometimes nodding or saying, that's really important. Use the mirroring technique. So if there are particular words or phrases that the person you're speaking with or who's asking you questions uses a lot, there's nothing wrong with you using them too. Make the other person feel at home. As Dr. Barker said, your interviewer, it could be the first time they've interviewed somebody ever, or they might only interview every couple of years. They might be nervous. So try to create that atmosphere of comfort. And one of the best ways of doing that is creating a laugh. What's something you can share that's quite funny, or a funny story from work? You don't need to roll out jokes, but if you have the opportunity to laugh, do so. And be really honest. A lot of candidates are very guarded in job interviews, but if you can leave the room and the person feels like you are honest with them, they'll feel like they can trust you. Remember to be nice. Again, at the end of the interview, I love it when a candidate just says, thank you for seeing me today. So we've got a lot of things there that you can do. And all of these types of things will help the person that you're meeting with feel comfortable around you. And if they feel comfortable around you, they are more likely to think that you're a really suited candidate for the job. Now, I know that doesn't sound potentially politically correct, but it's human nature. So it's important to understand human nature because it applies in all settings, but particularly in a job interview. So we can also stand out in the interview room by impressing with our knowledge of the organization. We want to show that we know what the organization does and stands for. That information is readily available. We want to know about their values and beliefs. Market knowledge is really important. You will really impress at the job interview if you can talk about what you know about the market at the moment. If you've been reading and you can bring into your interview questions anything in the recent media or any publications that the organization has produced or about the industry that you're applying for this job in. You can impress with your knowledge of the actual position by showing you know what a good job looks like. And you will talk about when you performed well or that you understand what it takes to perform well in this job. Link your experience and link your education back to the position. And understand, show that you've got an understanding of the impact the position has. But thirdly, impress with what you will bring to the team. Well, what does that mean? The person interviewing you is potentially going to be your new colleague. So they're looking at you and they're thinking, do I want to work with this person? Do I want to sit next to them? Do I want them sitting next to me for 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, 48 weeks of the year for the next 3 years? If the person doesn't like you or doesn't get along with you and you make things awkward, then guess what? You're not going to get the job because they're not going to want to work with you. So you are a potential colleague of everyone who is meeting you. Make them want to work with you. Now, what's with all the research? I am asking you to do a lot of research. Research into the company, research into the position. Why do I ask you to do so much research? Well, I want to share a quote with you. And if you've attended any of my other workshops, you'll be familiar with this quote. It's from Stefan Wheeler, who's a well-known recruiter in Melbourne. And Stefan says, credentials on your resume will get you that first interview, but it's not the key to your next position. Looking at the people we hired recently or who will be joining us shortly, there is one thing they all have in common. They were uber prepared. They have dug deep into what we do and stand for. They impressed us with their understanding of our business and the problems we are trying to solve. Yet not all of them were exactly what we were looking for. On the opposite side, I interviewed a candidate the other day who looked great on paper. But when I spoke with her, she had no idea what we were doing and said she'd only research a company once she lands an on-site interview. Well, it's a Zoom interview these days. Though if you haven't spent any time researching our company, you are missing the mark. I understand doing research takes effort and you don't even know if it will pay off. However, that's exactly what other applicants do to get the job, and they're the ones you compete with right from the beginning of your application. I'm going to read that last paragraph again. I understand doing research takes effort and you don't even know if it will pay off. However, that's exactly what other applicants do to get the job, and they're the ones you're competing with right from the beginning of your application. So if you don't want to do the research, that's fine, but the other candidates are. And a candidate who answers questions confidently gives the interviewer a great sense that they are top performer. We translate confident interview answers into competent candidate for the job. It is that simple. All right, video interviews. Let's take a moment to talk about video interviews because they are so common at the moment.
Hi job seekers, James here from The Candidate Coach. One of the most common questions we've been receiving lately is around how to best prepare for a video interview. Due to the circumstances over the last 12 to 18 months, video interviews have become the most common way of meeting a candidate, replacing the in-person, face-to-face interview. So here are my top tips for what you need to do to make sure you are best prepared and presenting yourself as well as you possibly can when your interview is over video. So there's 4 main things that you really need to consider. The first thing is camera height. This is the biggest mistake that a lot of people make, is getting the height of their camera wrong. If you've got a laptop, for example, that is sitting on a desk, you need to lift it up. The camera should always be at eye height. You want to imagine the lens of a camera is the eyeball of a person. So if you are looking down at your laptop or your phone, it's going to look back up your nose. So keep the camera positioned at eye height. One of the great ways to do that is to buy a tripod, something like this. So if you don't have a tripod, it's well worth going out and spending the money. And here's another one that I've got here. This one in particular I find to be really, really good. These have both got lights which help, but this one here, you can adjust it to a full standing height if you like. And it's available for not much money from a retail store. The second thing that is really important is the lighting. So having the light shining on your face. You don't want to have light shining from behind you because that creates a lot of glare. So have the light shining on your face, sit with a window facing you so that you are looking nice and clear on camera. The third thing is audio. You need to be in a nice quiet space so your voice comes across clearly, so that you don't have to yell, so that the sound is not distorted. If you are using a laptop, make sure you check about the sound direction. Some microphones only record from directly in front, and if you tilt your head sideways, the audio quality can go down quite significantly. And the fourth thing is, remember to show some personality with video interviewing. A lot of people speak to a camera in a different way that they speak to a person. So again, look at the lens of the camera and imagine you're speaking to a person. Smile, talk with your hands if that's what you do, but don't look around the room. If you're nervous, don't look down at your hands. Look at the camera and give an answer as if you were giving it to a person. This can be challenging, particularly if you are being asked to record answers and there's not actually a person that you are speaking to, but personality definitely comes through on video, so make sure you show yours. And with everything, practice. If you're not sure how you're going to present, or you think, I don't think this is going to work really well, set up your camera, hit record, and just speak to the camera. Talk, see how you look, and practice several times. This is going to be the new norm, or not the new norm, it is the norm for quite some time now, so it's really important that you understand how to best prepare for video interviewing. Good luck.
Okay, so part 3, let's say the interview is done and dusted. We've given it our best shot. You've left the interview or you've turned off your video camera and you think, it's done. The interview is over. Well, it is over, but you can still do some little things post-interview to continue to increase your chances of getting the job. So first of all, send a thank you email within 24 hours. Just a 1 or 2 liner. Dear James, thank you for meeting with me yesterday. I'm really interested in the position. I look forward to hearing from you soon. That shows good manners. It shows you're polite. It also reminds me that you're keen on the job. And if I've got 3 candidates who are all keen on the job, that thank you note might just move the needle a little bit towards you. Because again, do I want to work with this person who is going to be polite, or do I want to work with this other person who seemed a bit rude? Show good manners, be polite. Number 2, if you have been asked to do something, do it immediately. So if you've been asked to send through reference checks, if you've been asked to send through academic transcripts, if you've been asked to go away and complete an assessment, do it straight away. You are being assessed in terms of your responsiveness. So go and do it straight away. If a timeline for communication hasn't been established, it is okay to get back in touch after 3 or 4 days and just say, hey, I really enjoyed the interview. I'm just calling to see if there's any update yet. And finally, be responsive, be polite and professional and positive at all times. Every time you pick up that phone, be positive. You are on display. Your chances of getting the job go up and down with every conversation. You are being assessed the whole time. So, as I've said, preparation is key. Preparation is your friend. Preparation you can do. Everything that we've talked about today, everything I've shown you is what you can do. And if you can do the things I've told you today, you will increase your chances of getting the job. If you're still wanting more assistance, just a reminder that we have 2 episodes on our candidate coaching platform for you to watch around getting ready and performing well at interview. So episode 8 is getting the basics right, and episode 9 is taking it from good to great. And in these videos, you'll hear from 6 or 7 different recruiters in each episode, experienced recruiters giving you their feedback on what it is you need to do to stand out and get the job. Now, before we go, just a reminder of what's available on our candidate coaching platform for you. We've got video coaching, 14 episodes that you can watch. We've also got resume and cover letter templates. We've got interview questions, online tests that you can take. We've got checklists, articles. We've got advice specifically for executive job seekers. We've got mental health support, and we've got a lot more information on our upcoming workshops that you can register for and attend, just like this one. And all of this is available to you for free. Now, before we go, I would really love to ask if you could take 2 minutes. It is literally a 2-minute survey. Take 2 minutes to complete this survey. In this survey, we simply ask you, did you get any value out of today, and what was it? And we also want to know, what topics are you interested in hearing more about? What topics are you interested in hearing more about for our workshop? So on most weeks, we run 2 workshops. That's 8 a month. But we want to run workshops on topics that are of most interest to you. So please write that down, follow the link. And likewise, please follow us on LinkedIn. That will help you keep up to date with everything that we're offering. Now, we'll finish today with this video. And this particular video is in regards to mental health and the fact that most people actually do have a little bit of a dip in their mental health when they're looking for work. This might be you. This might be you and you haven't realized it. So we're going to hear from Dr. Sarah Barker again on how to look after your mental health when looking for work. This will conclude today's workshop. Thanks for joining. We'll see you for our next one, where we talk about how you can give great answers to interview questions. Thank you.
If you're not feeling terrific at the moment and you feel like your mental well-being has taken a little bit of a dip, please remember this is not going to last forever. There's lots you can do to manage your mental health and get back on top of it. I am Dr. Sarah Barker. I'm a clinical psychologist. I've worked in workplace mental health with Black Dog Institute for the past 7 years. I work with a lot of adults and young people, mainly with anxiety, depression, trauma as well, a range of issues, and many who are looking for work and undergoing that process of trying to find employment. Looking for work causes mental strain because our identity is tied up with our work. Work gives us meaning, it gives us purpose, it gives us company and connection. So it's stressful for lots of reasons looking for work, and it can take a toll on our mental health. It's really important for us to be aware of the signs that our well-being and our mental health might be dropping. Probably the biggest sign is changes in behaviour. So that might be changes in the way we're thinking or talking to ourselves. We might be saying things like, who would employ me? I'll never get a job. We might be really down on ourselves and really hard and critical on ourselves when normally we're not so hard and critical. We might also, in our relationships, change our behaviour. We might be more snappy or more irritable with people that we love. That normally we might be a little bit irritable sometimes, but not irritable in that way. Losing interest in things that usually sparked us and ignited us and gave us joy. So perhaps usually we like walking the dog and suddenly we start thinking, I can't be bothered walking the dog today. That sort of thing, those changes in behaviour are really significant because they tell us that something's different, and if we're noticing, I suppose, more than one of those and it's affecting the way we feel, and this is over a period of say 2 weeks or longer, then it's a really good idea to have a chat to a GP that you trust, and find out what might be going on, have a discussion and see if there's any physical reasons for that, or if perhaps your mental health and wellbeing might be able to do with a little bit of extra support, and then the GP can refer you on to see a psychologist, a counsellor, whoever is most appropriate for you. There are so many great things you can do to look after your mental health when you're looking for work, and it's really important that you do. My very top tip would be really talking kindly to yourself and being compassionate with yourself. I think when we're looking for work, we can have a lot more questions like, will I ever get a job? Will I ever be employed? It can feel like this could go on forever. So being kind to ourselves and saying things like, it will work out. There will be a day, my efforts will be rewarded. It will just take time. I just need to keep trying. Reminding yourself of your strengths. And that might even be tapping into people you love and asking them what your strengths are, because sometimes it's harder to find them when our mood's a bit low and we're feeling more worried. We can be harder on ourselves. I think that routine is really, really important to our well-being. When we're looking for work, we mightn't have such a regular routine because there mightn't be a 9 to 5 start and finish time for a job, or there isn't. So instead, thinking about looking for work as a job in itself can be helpful. Having a start time and a finish time can be really helpful, and some set tasks that you hope to achieve that day. Purpose is really important too. So purpose might come through routine, but it can also come through other things. Meaning's really important, and our work gives us meaning. So when we're looking for work, meaning mightn't feel like it's there as much. Part of what we can do is infuse those tasks with meaning. So I am doing these things today, I'm looking for work, and that is meaningful in itself, because if there's an end goal to this, it will be something that's good for me and good for the people that I love as well. Some excellent resources for looking after well-being when looking for work are the Headgear app. The Headgear app is free, it's evidence-based, it's developed by Black Dog Institute, and it is fun to use. It uses mindfulness, so a technique to really help us relax and reduce physiological arousal, which can often occur when we're feeling anxious. It's got a 30-day challenge, which is just short, bite-sized little challenges to extend your well-being and grow your well-being, and that can be really extra important when we're looking for work. There are also some really terrific resources available through the Black Dog Institute. One of them is a beautiful self-care plan that encourages you to think about your top coping tips, the things that personally work best for you, that are positive coping strategies. Another really good resource is through Beyond Blue, and they've got some excellent resources to look after mental health while looking for work, and also when people are recently out of work as well. Probably time to seek professional assistance when you notice your mood is lower and you're feeling more down than usual, when you're worrying more and perhaps worrying excessively about things that you wouldn't normally worry about, and perhaps in your relationships too, when you're more tense with people and perhaps more snappy or irritable. All of these are signs that perhaps our mood is not in the greatest space, and our well-being is not in the greatest space, and that it can be a great idea then to chat to your GP, who can then refer you to an appropriate person to help you strengthen your well-being. It's very common for people to have a dip, but please know that that's not going to last forever, and that there's lots you can do through looking after yourself, but also through getting access to professional support that can really give you a boost again and get you back feeling good as you're looking for work.